Yes. We are back like we never left. welcome, one and all to Dating University. I am your co-host, Professor Charles, holding it down. Professor Brittany is on call tonight, so she has other duties she needs to attend to. But listen, I threw the bat signal up in the air. And the red bandit came through.
Absolutely.
It's
been a while. I've been waiting for my time, right? Like, yes. I'm like, I put my name in the hat a couple times. I was like, yep. And then when I saw your post earlier, I was like, oh, there it is.
Yes,
right in there.
Yes.
The G illustrious,
the incomparable, the wordsmith, the thespian, the educator, the oh man, what else you got up under your hat? The non-profit kid,
the new husband.
Can we give it up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the show, Professor George, the alumni of Dating University. Let's go. Welcome.
Thank you. They don't tell you how much different it is when you actually get married.
Like, no, God, no, hell no. They try to tell you.
I realize the fellas don't talk about that much neither, because there's a pride to this. Like, and I'll be walking around, I'll be like, yeah, man, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, showing people, like, yeah. They're like, how you been?
Just be like, good, brother, good. Locked in. I'm look, I go to work and I come home. like that's it. That's what I got. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm giving.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Like, listen, this new husband life is awesome, man. I'm very happy for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You guys have been rocking for 5 years, and then y'all guys y'all made it happen, and I'm so ecstatic for you, man. Like, welcome to the club. You are officially hereby invited to the Husband's Lounge podcast. So
right. Now I can be in the exclusive group also. I can show up.
yes, we got to put you in the Husband's Lounge group too.
I can be in the Husband's Lounge now.
Best believe. You know if you belong. Absolutely, man. So how's life been? How's everything been?
It's been good, man. It's been good. It's been busy. Not a lot of new responsibilities at work. Mm-hmm. That's been the biggest change. Didn't come with the financial compensation yet. But no, like it was a challenge that I openly, like, I was definitely ready for. So I'm really excited about that. Got some new initiatives under my belt that I'm really excited about. Awesome. And then home life is great. We just moved into a new house. So as I'm blurring my screen because I got boxes. I still got, you see the boxes still here. Like, but I'm sitting in what is our home office right now, and It's still a little under construction.
For sure.
We just moved in. We've been here. I think we've been here 3 weeks now. So that's going great. We love the neighborhood. Kids love the place. Yeah, man. And that's been it. I've been catching up on my shows. It's a good time right now. Agatha just dropped. I'm loving that. The Penguin was amazing. Probably one of the best. Yeah, like, so, it's a good time all around, man. I get to come home, like, some good stuff on TV. Work is going pretty good. Home life is great. I'm loving it.
That's all right, man. Well, I appreciate you and carving out some time to hang out with us and lend your expertise, lend your opinion to our topic. Like tonight we are continuing our discussion from last episode. I gotta keep remembering it's not last week because we've gone from every week to twice a month. So I gotta remember from last episode. We talked about safe spaces in dating and relationships. And it was a really, really good really good conversation, especially with those in the comments. I mean, we saw some amazing comments that really just hit home for us, and to the point where we had just one last comment. We was just like, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and end the show. Like there was no following that. So
yeah, man. Like sometimes, yo, I notice some podcasts go on like just way too long. It just goes on and goes on and goes on. I think, you know, like I respect like y'all make decisions on like this is a good stopping point. Let's pick it up later, or you know, like let's just come back for part 2. But we ain't gonna let it just keep dragging on. No matter how good it is, and like it's hard to stop a good conversation when it's really good. But then understanding the platform and the medium. You know what I mean? Like, there's a perfect.
Absolutely.
And then gave me the opportunity to come on and like, you know, wrap it up. Like,
yes.
Work on the next episode. I'm definitely down for that.
But you know, it is my favorite time of year. It's hoodie season again. I'm so excited.
Do you see my wife's post?
No, what is she?
Yeah, so my wife posted the other day, a couple days ago. It was something about it. What did it say? It was something about some hoodies just don't fit the same, something like that. It was. I was like, oh Lord. So like when we moved, I put all my hoodies in one box, and I wrote on it, "Dad's hoodies hide from Mom." Like put it with my son's stuff.
Listen.
So when she saw it, she was like, "Oh, that's how you doing?" I was like, you got me.
That's crazy. I love it. Oh, that's a great question. I'm gonna get to that question. So yeah, like I said, it is hoodie season. Please go get yourself some of the merch. This is not your hoodie, fellas.
Right.
Listen, we gotta let them know this ain't yours. Stay off of it, please. Don't even do it. So yes, if you would love to click the link anywhere in the description, anywhere on our socials, please help support the channel. And remember to, while you're here, like, leave a comment, which y'all are, subscribe, and share. We love to have new classmates to come and enjoy this space here on Dating University. So yeah, oh my God, talking about what we sipping on tonight. This is a blackberry flavored whiskey by a really good company. I don't want to give them the name because, you know, cut the check. Cut the check. But yeah, shout out to my brother and my
smart,
sister.
Bro, like that make the price go up. You find a good whiskey and start telling people.
Listen.
Next thing you know, you go into the store, it's $10 more than what it was last time.
You see the color on this joint right here? Man.
I like that. That's a nice amber.
Oh man, this thing tastes like a whole wine. You should have had last. Yes. But yeah, shout out to my brother and my sister who dropped that off and left that here for us. We appreciate you so much. All right, we're gonna get into it, man. So where to start? You know, I'm gonna start with you since you were part of the conversation last week.
Bring me up to speed.
Yes. So what does a safe space mean to you in the context of dating and relationships? And also, how do you envision it playing out?
For me, I think a safe space is simply having been fortunate enough to choose a partner that you trust. Safe space for me is just really all about trust and trust, a very specific type of trust, the type of trust that, like, you know, the type of trust that you can be wrong in, that you can be vulnerable in, and you are comfortable even not always being your best self. and what that I think what that looks like is someone who you know is going to be with you through the good and the bad, but even more specifically, like, because I feel like good and bad is very general. But as you go through your circadian rhythms, your motions, right, that we all go to,
Mhm.
and like vulnerability for men is a difficult thing, specifically like everywhere, but specifically in our relationships.
Yeah.
So for me, the safe space is really about the person. What I find what I have noticed when I look at my dating life comprehensively is that there were several opportunities, there were several places where I did feel safe, and then there were a lot of places where it was just like, nah, and not
Yeah.
because of anything that
Yeah.
the person did. It was just an indifference about it on my part, and something about the person wasn't resonating in that space. Which, when you find people where you are comfortable, where you do feel safe, you immediately notice the difference.
Mhm.
And that was one of the first things that attracted, like one of the first things not attracted me to it, but one of the first things that I noticed almost immediately about my wife was that I immediately, like, very and of no, there was really a lot of work involved, but I felt safe with her almost off the bat.
Right.
Um, I think when you're not safe, there's a pressure to always try and be perfect or save face that just doesn't exist in relationships when
Yeah.
you are when you know or you feel like you're in a safe space. Um, that's what it looks like to me. It looks like the opportunity to really be your full authentic self, even when in other situations you know that you would be judged,
Mhm.
or you might be you might even be looked down on a little bit. Um, and it's funny because it's not like those situations don't exist or that opportunities don't exist and safe space relationships. You just don't care. Like, you feel protected enough that it's like that's no longer a barrier. Like, sometimes you're
Yeah.
going to tell me about my shit, and I accept that. I understand that that's part of this process, but I know that that's not going to threaten what we have, and I know it's not going to threaten what we built. I know it's not going to threaten the way that you see me, and it's not going to threaten the way that I see you, even when we have to be tough on each other and hold each other accountable. Um, yeah, and that's what it looks
That's
like. That's what it feels like for me.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Like you really hit the nail on the head. Especially when it comes down to the not so good parts.
Mm,
Your idiosyncrasies,
yeah.
your annoying habits. You know, it, even when you just falter, just either through your own fault or no fault of your own.
Hmm.
And to have that person to be there by your side to be like, okay, this is a setback. How do we move forward? I want you
Hmm.
to feel okay with expressing how you feel. How can how can we get through this together? Like,
Hmm.
it's like, and one of the one of the things that we talked about last episode was being an active listener.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and
Hmm.
not only being an active listener, but you're showing your empathy. You're avoiding interrupting or dismissing their feelings, or you know even saying, like, you know what, yes, I'm here to actively listen, and I'm here to uh absorb what you have, help shoulder the load a little bit. But maybe I'm not the person that can actually help.
Mm.
Maybe we can direct you in a way. Maybe
Hmm.
it could be therapy. It could be a
Hmm.
new hobby. It could be anything. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
being that active listener is one of the biggest things of being a safe space.
Mm.
um you don't want to feel like um you're not being heard, or you feel like what you do say is a problem for that other person because it doesn't show up as
Thank you.
the way they want them to. Look, is that the wifey?
My
Yeah.
wifey went out, and I was like, yo, like, I realized I didn't, we were all out, and I was like, "Ooh, can I get it back here and back in 10 minutes?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"Nah, I can't be late." She's like, "You want me to go?" I was like, it's like, wait, I think I can make it. And then I was like, nah, I'm gonna be late. I can't be late. I can't be late. Like, this is my first time back in a long time. She's like, I got it. I was like, thank you so much.
See, that's the thing about having a good wife, man.
So we got some DeWarters over here. This our go-to during the week.
Come on in, cheers it up, my brother.
Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, like a lot of that I think resonates in the safe space. I mean, you gotta listen. You gotta be listening. But you know what's honest? Like, one of the things that I picked up about that, like, the active listening is one piece. But you mentioned about, I think it's an important thing in the safe spaces that I think you touched on is understanding like your limitations, and that everything with your partner that your partner might be going through, that your partner might be experiencing, everything ain't gonna be for you to fix, right? Like, part of being in that safe space is like understanding your limitations and not feeling like you have to be the problem solver or the fixer in every situation that comes up, and kind of recognizing through that active listening, because when you're active listening, one thing you'll understand is like, okay, I'm outside of my depth on this one, right? But I still want to support you. And then being comfortable enough to like, go do that. Go do this. Go like maybe you should go to therapy, right? And then creating that space for your partner to do that. Maybe you need a hobby, right? Maybe you need this time. You know, in our house, it could be something like, you know, like, okay, you need some time away from the kids. Take them for a little while. You go hang out with your girls. Go do something. You know, so I think that's interesting around the safe space is understanding that and accepting and leaning into the fact that you're not always going to be the solution. I think a lot of people struggle with that. Like, oh, my partner's going through something and I can't fix it. And then you start to internalize it, and that in itself causes problems. Like, everything ain't for you to fix. Right. Yeah. And like, but it is on you to create the space and the opportunity for that problem to get solved in some way, shape, or fashion. Without you feeling like you got to take it on 100%, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's what comes with that listening is understanding where, you know, there's times where like, yeah, I do have the solution, or I do have an answer or a suggestion. And then there's sometimes where it's just like, nope.
Yeah, like this
above me.
I ain't got it, dog. Like, it's above me now. Like,
so I'm gonna rock through this with you. But we're gonna tap in a resource, or we're gonna tap in somebody else. You know, I'm huge on like a third party coming in, like third party, especially in communication stuff. Like having a nonpartisan party involved is huge. Sometimes.
Yeah, and that was actually one of our points that, you know, we didn't get to last episode. Consider couples therapy or individual therapy. And it says if you're struggling to create couples therapy helps you establish healthy communication strategies with conflict. Because that problem can be a conflict. It can literally set off something in your relationship. Like you don't mean to go off, but because you haven't been able to process it and verbalize it in a way that's coherent, it's going to come off as snarky. It's going to come off as an attitude. It's going to come off as, you know, and you be screaming at each other for no reason. You talking about where the hot water I put in the freezer this morning, like, you know, and it's dumb stuff like that.
And that's an interesting point, because when you don't create a safe space to deal with those types of issues, they fester, and then you have the shit like what you just described, like what did happen, where is my hot water that I put in the freezer, right? Which is ridiculous, but that's where you find yourself when you don't address those issues like effectively, and they end up festering. And it's amazing how many of our people specifically, and I'm not going to say that, I need to get away from that. Like a lot of times, because we talk in the frame of black, correct, right? Black and brown and our people, right?
Correct.
And I tend to say our people specifically. And I realized I had an epiphany a couple weeks ago. It's like, George, you don't know shit about what white people do. You know what I'm saying? Like, for all I know, they having the same problems, right? Like, I don't follow. Correct. You know, like I'm just not ingrained enough in their culture to keep thinking that like all of these things are like exclusive to us, right? But
right.
That's a whole nother episode.
If you think about it, like everything that they show is just like my life is great. My life is good. You know, like
and I've even started to question that if that's really what it is, or is it just my lack of attention to the deeper, you know what I'm saying? Like there's spaces for us on online. There's spaces for them. I don't peruse those spaces. So,
correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, why I need to be over here? Like, I'm okay.
A lot of assumptions about what it is that they're doing, and I'm like, but how much do we really pay attention? But you know, one of the things that I what I was saying was that so many of us are so resistant to just we are still in a place where we're so resistant to even the idea of like professional help. And I'm not sure why, but because there's a part about it that just like when you're going through certain issues and whatnot, and you can't work it out between the two of you, like to me, the logical next step is, okay, let's go see someone who is like professionally trained and like dealing with this, right? And yet so many people choose to just part ways instead of employing that. So yeah, I think that's a big thing. But then also I think that there's an element to the whole safe space where you have to have a certain level of safe space to even have the conversation about doing that together, about doing it separately, right? Like,
no, that's interesting.
Yeah.
You gotta have a space.
Because like the first time somebody says, you know, think about it, like you probably had it said to you, I've had it said to me, but like the first time somebody recommended, you know, maybe you should see someone, right? Like I got offended.
Yeah, you be like,
what the fuck you mean? Like what you trying to say? I'm crazy?
Like,
you know what I'm saying? So imagine that in a relationship, right? We've been there, like, girl, you crazy. You need help. Right?
And then the familiarity
and then that shit always backfires. But I think that again, like that's part of like why safe spaces are important and why you have to be intentional about building them, because one of the things that safe spaces sets the stage for is those tougher conversations.
Yeah. Right.
The ones that will usually trigger us if it's anybody else. And like that's when you know you have a safe space. You know, when your girl, or for the ladies, your guy, like when your person can say some shit to you that if it was anybody else, you'd be ready to throw hands.
Right.
But they say it and you like sit your ass down and consider it, you are in a safe space. You are really in a safe space.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've actually had that in my relationship now is in my marriage. So it's just like like the hell you talking about? They're like, nah, like but okay, all right. Okay.
All right, maybe I do.
Maybe I do those things.
Maybe I am.
Maybe I do have this issue that I need to address.
Congratulations, you have achieved safe space.
Thank you.
And if I think there's any indicator that you are in a safe space, it's like that is it. That is it. Like when your person can engage you in things that would in any other situation you would have a visceral reaction to, and that person causes you to like you have the complete opposite. It's like, you know, you curse too much. Maybe I do curse too much.
You know,
anybody else, I'm like, nigga, what the fuck you mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, fuck you talking about?
What the fuck you talking to? Like,
you know, like, but that person will say that, and you're like, fuck.
All right.
Maybe I do curse.
Maybe I do. Like, all right. Maybe I need to go
you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe I should consider, like, let's see if I can try to drop 3 less F-bombs a day, or you know. But when you start to think I think safe space is, like part of it is like you're comfortable considering from the other person's perspective versus being so solely focused on your own.
Yeah.
And I think that makes all the difference in dating.
Mm-hmm.
My early dating, like a good portion of early, from the first moments of dating into dating, my perspective was all I cared about and all that mattered. And when you get to a place where you realize that other things are important, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
mm-hmm.
part of that, I think, is realizing when you've got a person that you're like, okay, what, like, you start to value their perspective. You start to look for it.
Yes.
You start to think about it.
Yes.
That's the funny thing about being married. It's like
everything. We were just talking about a pre-show,
right? Before we were married, I think we were still I'm not gonna speak for her. I was still operating in a certain space, and I can't even really describe it. But as soon as the wedding was over, I was like, it was almost like, now I'm like, what will my wife do?
What will my wife do? What will my wife say? And it's like,
what will my wife do in this situation? How would she want me to handle this?
Right.
And I honestly, that's a welcoming perspective.
Because you're no longer the smartest person in the room.
It's just like, how would Raina handle this? So the safe space part, I think, is important, and everybody should be looking for that. Like, if you're serious about a relationship, like, you should be serious about finding someone that you can share a safe space with. And one of the things, and I'm reluctant to say this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I find that the places where I have felt safe, wasn't no real work involved. The work was maintaining the safe space, like catering to the safe space, right? Growing it, sinking even more comfortably into it. That was the work. But like the initial realization of the safe space, it was like, oh, it didn't really require any work. And I think it really does have a lot to do with the person you choose.
Mm-hmm. No, I get that.
Yeah.
That is some real stuff. Like as you get into it more, like you say, you sink into it more, you dive into it more, because it's been proven. Like, I've had a hard time. I've come to my partner. My partner opened armed me, welcomed me with open arms and walked me through it and was by my side. And then we came out on the other side of it. And that's what we kind of talked about in the last episode too. It's like, it's not a chronological time thing. It's a experience thing. It's like, we've had one experience. Like I said, you've gone through, you come out the other side, you gain a better understanding of the person gain a better understanding of you. And nothing was held, nothing was used against you. If you sat up there and you cried and you boo-hooed and you laid it all out, snot bubbles and everything, it wasn't brought back to you and like, oh, you were soft. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't brought back to you in a space of, well, oh, I got this dirt on you because I know you've been through this XYZ. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's that comfort of knowing that your emotions and your vulnerability won't be weaponized against you. And it's such an amazing space to be in. Yes, absolutely, wifey. She said comfort and safety is such a beautiful space to be in. Because that's when I'm in my safe space. That's when I'm the goofiest. That's when I'm the most fun. Any other time I'm like in a setting of like, I don't know too many people, whatever. I'm just more like, all right, I'm chilling, I'm good,
Yeah.
whatever. But me and my wife, we act a fool. Like,
Right.
hey,
Yeah.
and it's that safe space because I feel I can be 100% me. I've never felt in any dating situation, any relationship situation where I felt that I could be completely 100% Charles and not feel like, oh Lord, I can't let this little bit of weirdness come out because they may not understand.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But to see my wife, sometimes she look at me crazy, but then she be like, I love you, Mom. Like, go ahead, like, do your thing.
Right.
You know?
Right. That's a safe space. That's
Yeah.
a safe space. And that's real. The safe space is where the real you comes out. And yeah, like we are socially engineered to compartmentalize ourselves.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We compartmentalize ourselves, right? Like we got
work
our
self,
work
I got my
self,
friend self.
and I got my self, that I got who I am when I'm with my boys, and my social self when I'm out, just out with the people. And yeah, and we're socially engineered to do that, and it gets tiring. But then it also can be a bit depressing if you don't have at least one person that you can just be, all of that can be lifted, all of that can be just thrown out, and you can just, you can just
take off. You can take off the armor. You can take off the hat. You can just be pink belly and not feel like.
I agree with Professor Britt. Not to be able to be yourself in any space is saddening. If you are in a space where you truly can't be yourself. And I don't, like, me personally, I don't feel like I've ever had to occupy spaces where I couldn't be me. But it's definitely like there's a tapered version of me, right? A slightly modified version.
Facets, if you will.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, there's a tailored version of me for every situation, right? And then there are spaces where I don't have to worry about any of that, and I can just be the full authentic me that incorporates all of those different facets of my character and personality in one place. And yeah, a lot of times that's at home. At home with the wife.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You got a personal question from Professor Brittany. She says, was private school a safe space for you?
Probably not, but I honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I was having so much fucking fun that it could have been the most dangerous environment for me ever, and I wouldn't have noticed. Because that just wasn't where my focus was. Yeah. But I will say this, as we've gotten older and more stories have started to come out of some of the experiences that people have had in the private school space, particularly as a Black person in that space. I can honestly say that I don't share a lot of those experiences. My private school time, I look back on it and it was fine. I could have applied myself more. I think that's the only real thing that I look back on and I'm like, I wish that was a little different, right? Like I wish I had taken it a little bit more seriously, like from the academic standpoint. I wish I had valued, the opportunity to be in that like high level academic space. But as far as I've heard now some of the horror stories that people have had and some of the real microaggressions and sometimes overt aggression that they had to endure at different places, and then not being supported in that and things like that. I just I don't really remember having many of those experiences, right? Like there was a thing at my private institution that was triggering for a lot of people, right? Like some cats like hung up a Confederate flag. And that was triggering for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I knew the guys who did it. And so I knew it was a joke, right? Like they knew that they were gonna cause controversy. But it wasn't malicious intent. If anything, they were just a little ignorant to just how they were very much ignorant to just how serious it was going to land for some people, right? But they knew that they were going to ruffle feathers, like. But I don't think they understood just how deep it was going to get, right? Like all they knew was that the Confederate flag was some shit that was going to get some people upset, and like that's literally why they did it. But and like I felt like the school's response to it was, I felt like it was relatively appropriate. You know, some people live on that fringe. You're like, no, we should take these 15, 16-year-old kids and expel them.
Yeah, they want their pound of flesh.
Yeah. And I don't live in that space about much at all, right? Like people do dumb shit all the time. People make mistakes. I think they should be held accountable. Sure. I don't think everybody needs to be made an example of in every single situation, right? And 15, 16-year-old kids who really don't understand like the nature and the history of that. You know what I'm saying? Like not on a deep level, right? All they know is that there was going to be some people that got pissed off about it, right? White and black. But there's no way they could have really known like the hurt that was going to cause for some people, right? Yeah. And like so like they were punished, and I thought the punishment fit the crime, knowing that it was a joke that these two like did not have like malicious intent or hateful intent behind them, right? Like I think if there was a question of that, or like people honestly felt like that's what it was, then I think it would have been handled differently. I thought it was handled relatively appropriately. You know, but some people disagree. Some people thought that like they should have been kicked out, they should have been barred from the school, and all of that, all of the things that come with that. And some people do have that reaction, and I understand it. I can't always get behind it. You know what I mean? Like not for every single infraction. I can't.
No, I get that.
But that was the one incident in my 4 years there that stands out, that like I remember. You know what I mean?
Okay. Oh man, listen, I'm on that note, I'm gonna stretch this segue out. So forgive me if I go too fast.
That's cool.
So, one of the other points was of having a safe space is being kind, expressing gratitude, words of affirmation, and physical affection. I think that's an important thing, because you never know what a hug can do for a person.
Gotta have a connection.
You know, like
gotta have a connection.
A good hug where you can just fall and just melt into that person and be like, like that's enough. I wouldn't say.
And understand it, and then you're right. That connection is important. Like it's the basis of it. You can't have it without having the connection, and the connection looks different for everybody. You know, I can't leave this house in the morning without kissing my wife goodbye. And on the days where we're rushing, and I don't care like how late we are, how much we rushing. You know, we got 4 kids to get ready. We gotta round up 4 kids every morning to get them out the house. And I do not care. Like my wife has been in the car. And will ring my phone, and I'm like, she parks on the parking pad out back. I'm on the street out front. I'm headed out the front door. My phone's ringing. Baby, you didn't kiss me today. I'm on my way. I'm coming back.
I'm on my way. Yeah.
And that doesn't happen often because, that's important. Like that means a lot to her, right? So now, like, I find myself like, I'm all right, baby. I'm about to leave. Come here. You know what I mean? Like that's a real
Exactly.
thing.
And it's not out of like just like mindless habit. It's
No,
it's
it's very
intentional.
intentional. It's very
Exactly.
intentional. There are
Exactly.
days where, you know, she's dropping the kids off and I may have a later meeting or maybe I'm gonna do some work from home. But when I hear them, you know, and I might be in here in the office and I hear them, you know, I hear coats coming out the closet, or I hear the older kids, come here, let me put your shoes on. And I know that's my trigger, like, oh, they about to leave. And like I'm getting my ass up, walk downstairs.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it's very connection, like real connection, the type that will inspire and create a safe space is like, it's not an accident. It's always something intentional. And it's part of the intention. It's the intent behind certain things that lends itself to the creation of the safe space in the first place.
Correct.
Right? When you're just doing things to do them, you know what I mean? And this is where people get misconstrued, because you cannot create a safe. You can absolutely recognize that a space may be safe in the honeymoon period. Correct. But you cannot really solidify a safe space in the honeymoon period, because it's the honeymoon period.
It's the honeymoon. The endorphins are high.
Everything done in the honeymoon period, whether you're dating or in the early stages of a relationship, everything done in the honeymoon period is emotional.
Yes.
The creation of a safe space is not emotional. It is actually a very intellectually intent-driven action. You know, it's like the people who say, you know, there's falling in love, and then there's choosing love every day.
And choosing love every day.
You choose to nurture that safe space. You can have potential for, and I think that's what I meant to say earlier, is that it's not that there's no work involved. The recognition of a potential safe space doesn't usually take a lot of work, but the facilitation of a safe space is work. That's intention.
Hard, but
that's
it is
intention,
work.
And it doesn't have to be hard. It just has to be intentional, and intentional does not always mean hard, right? Exactly. If you are a naturally forgetful person, and you know that your wife needs to be kissed every morning before you leave or she leaves, then it may be difficult because you have to rewire yourself.
You have
to not forget that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But mostly, it's the intent. And the intent is not always synonymous with work. But I think when you're trying to be intentful about something that's not uniquely something for you, about you, or that you are in the behavior of doing, that can be a little, you know, that's where you work every day. But it's like any other habit, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like brushing your teeth. Yeah, it's like brushing your teeth. It's not the most glamorous thing in the world, but it's a benefit to yourself. It's a benefit to your health. You know what I'm saying? And so is, like you said, the intimate connection with your partner. It's beneficial for your health. It's beneficial for the health of yourself and the relationship. It gives reassurance. It gives connection. It gives peace of mind. It solidifies something that's already solid. But you know, you never know. Your partner might need that extra kiss that morning. You know, like they may, you know, you think, you know, everybody just wakes up and like, good morning. Like, no, sometimes people just wake up like, I don't know if I got it today. Like, I don't know if I got it today. But I have the absolute joy of knowing that when I leave out of here, I'm coming back home to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so
a
real.
Powerful thing.
It's so real. It's so real. Effort and intentionality. Even if you miss it.
Yeah, nobody's perfect, and you're gonna miss it. You're gonna miss it. I missed kissing my wife once. She made sure that wasn't gonna happen again. And the thing was, she didn't yell at me. Yeah. There was no argument about it.
It was a nudge.
It was just, she said it, she brought it up, and it was enough in her voice that I was like, oh yeah, Hey, I
Yeah,
can't
she
do
need
that
that.
no more. Yeah, I mean that, like, there was a disappointment in it,
Ooh.
and it was like, oh yeah, like this really,
Ooh.
and that was the active listening part was like, oh, because we don't talk about it much, right? Like this was just a thing. Like I leave, I kiss my wife goodbye. Like this goes all the way back since we've been dating.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I missed it one day that I realized, I was like, oh shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's an important thing for her.
I mean, because
right?
we are creatures of habit.
And now I need to make sure that, like, we don't have too many of these days where I'm so in a rush. You know what I'm saying? And it was literally one of those things where, like, she was in another part of the house. We had seen each other, and it wasn't like I had not kissed her or hugged her at all that day. There's just this routine of, like, before I leave for the day or before she leaves for the day. And yeah, it was just like, oh, yeah, that's important to her. And it was important to me to make sure that she got that.
Yeah. Reciprocity, man. I'm trying to tell you. It'll save a lot of relationships if people really had that mindset.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta listen. Like, and this I think is important. I'll share this because I think it lands on a point about the even if you miss it, right? Like, my wife and I just got married last month. If I had been a little bit better of an active listener, we probably would have did this 2 years ago. Because I was in a place where I had this idea of what our marriage should look like in my head. And it was this year that I realized that my wife really didn't care about that shit. She was tired of waiting. And, like, I feel like there's a space here where if I'd been paying a little bit more attention, we probably would have just did what we did this year. We probably would have did it 2 years ago.
It's so funny that you say that. Of like the how if we would have just really listened, like, things could have been done. That's an amazing thing, and especially as us being as men, like you said, you had a vision of how you wanted the wedding to go, how you wanted the marriage to be, what I'm saying? Because I take you as a person who takes this marriage life extremely serious. So you're not just doing it on the whim because, oh yeah, we like each other, or oh yeah, the sex is good, or yeah, we got kids together, or no, it's a whole host of things that are encompassed in your decision to marry a woman, and I think that's for most men. And
I think it's for most people.
I think
like, I think most people are very yeah.
It depends. Some people, can just, rock out and be okay. Some people can be more, like, even more aggressive than what we were probably already thinking. But I would say, for me, I had the whole vision in my head the same way, kind of you did. And I wanted to make sure that once the marriage and the wedding that I wanted was like, okay, I want to make sure that it's this, because we're logical. We got the list. We got the things that we want, in order, but my wife, she was just like, no, I don't care. And then I eventually got to the spot where I was like, all right, cool. Let's just cool house. I'm here for it. Thursday, I see you there. But she also wanted to have me in a space of, like, this is your first wedding, like, and your only wedding. She's like, I wanted you to have this experience because she was married before, so she's gone through the pomp and circumstance.
Okay.
Me at the time, I was just like, man, whatever, cool house. We locked in, we good, easy peasy. She was like, no, I really want you to experience this. And then I had to get to the space in my head, like you were saying, being an active listener, and to just be like, okay, I need this. Yeah. I didn't know I needed it until I saw it. And then when I saw how it played out, I was just like, yeah, I would not have liked going to the courthouse as much as I thought I would have.
Right.
Like I needed, as much as I, I'm so involved with like my family. I'm so involved with my friends. Like it would be a disservice to my nature to just let that, just slide and just be like, oh, okay. Like no, I enjoyed the space that we were in, and I'm grateful for it. While we still got a few minutes left,
she understood that.
Yeah, like she understood.
She was actively listening.
She understood it before I even knew what it was. Like she knew, and that's how I knew that she was my partner. That she was my person and my partner. Like when they see you before you see yourself,
right?
Listen, I could talk all day about that, but let's see. I'm gonna try to go back to a comment that I did see, and okay, here we go. All right. So the question was for us both: can you speak on providing safe spaces to women, especially Black women?
Wait, what was the question? Okay,
this was the question for us both.
Women. Okay.
Asked, can you speak on providing safe spaces to women, especially Black women? And once we finish this, we're gonna jump into the other side of that.
Okay. You want me to go first? Or you
I mean, I'll take a stab at it real fast.
Yeah.
Because I know my man George, you have all of the good words. And I'd be damned if I'm gonna follow you.
I'm like, oh, okay, because I'm sitting here like, I need to think this through.
Yeah, and I'm in the same kind of thought process. Providing a safe spaces to women, I would honestly say it doesn't require me to be very obvious. That's the very first thing that came to my mind, because you think about providing a safe space for women, for Black women. You're looking at like, I'm gonna be the shield in between her and everything else. I can be the shield in between her and everything else and still be in the exact same space that I'm in. My safe space is to make sure that women feel comfortable where they are. You know what I'm saying? Like, comfort is everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are a lot of times women are in a space that is full of men, and we all know what comes with that. That comes with people hollering. That comes with some people being respectful. That comes with some people being disrespectful. My job is not to be like her guardian for every interaction that she's having in that space, but to be aware of what's happening in that space. Because this society is different. It's so weird. It's like you can just step in between somebody and they be like, nigga, I wasn't even talking to you. You know what I'm saying? And then next thing you know, you laid out on the ground somewhere, you got knocked out, or you know what I'm saying, unalive. All because you wanted to make it, you wanted to no, for me, it's just like, if I would see something before it even happens, I can walk up and be like, hey, our table is over here. I don't know if you saw us, but we were sitting over here. But also, not necessarily a actual physical space, but a mental space. A feeling of, I'm not going to abuse the quote unquote power dynamic that we have. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna force you into something that you're not comfortable with. I'm not gonna be too forward in a space of making you feel like you owe me
Keep talking. I'm listening. I gotta grab something real quick.
No, do your thing. I'm not gonna make you feel like you owe me in a space of because I was, I was kind to you or I was nice to you. And I think that's where some men get it messed up. They get into this space of like, well, I'm nice to you, I'm kind to you. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're a good person or that you're a safe person. So that's kind of where I'm at when it comes to providing a safe space. Now, exactly, Diddy, that's what we're going to get into as soon as George give his answer about what does a safe space look like for a man.
All right, so I'm in a show, sir.
Listen, it's husband life, man. I get
I'm in a show. You want to say hi to people real quick?
Yeah.
Come on, you can say hi.
What up, man?
Say hi. They can hear you.
Hey.
Right. I'm almost done. I'll be over in a minute, okay? Uncle Brandon. All right, we'll call Uncle Brandon later. All right, so let's see. Outside of like an intimate relationship, as much as a lot of men gonna hate to say this, I think that it's gotten to a point that for us to provide safe spaces for Black women in general, it's going to have to be us challenging the men that are creating unsafe spaces.
Cool. Yes, I get that.
And I don't, I know that's a real dangerous prospect for us.
It is.
And I think that we just need to have honest conversations about it and not frame it in the way of like, like it always seems to come from this, like, this place of like, but what about me? Like, you know what I'm saying? The thing about it is that Black women put their bodies in front of us to keep us from harm all the time, right?
Yeah.
And that goes all the way back in this country.
All the way back.
For us, that goes all the way back. Your mama will jump out there in front of the police when they trying to act up. She will jump out there in front of the dudes from the other neighborhood, right? Like from way back, Black women have consistently used their bodies to protect Black men. So it really hurt. It really bugs me when I hear men in these podcasts and conversations and other things that act like it's this wild concept to check a man when he's out of line or creating spaces that are uncomfortable, unsafe, or non-conducive for Black women. But I also respect the fact that the very prospect of that does put us in a place of potential harm, right? But I think that we have to start figuring out how we do that and protect ourselves. Understanding that understanding. But here's the thing: it is a fine line. But then again, intentionality. Are Black women worth it, or are they not? And if you feel like Black women are worth it, then you know what I'm saying. I'll say this: I've seen niggas do riskier shit for less.
Fair.
Right. So I'm always like, when a guy will make these comments that essentially boils down to, yeah, I ain't about to do all that for no woman, but you'll do all of that for some money. You will do all that for a woman that you feel like you own.
Mm-hmm.
You'll do all that for respect in the street. There's a lot of things you'll do all that for that you can't possibly make me believe that you believe that those things are more valuable than the women in your life and Black women as a whole.
Yeah. So
I think that the first step in creating safe spaces for Black women in general is us having an honest conversation with ourselves, and really, and having that honest conversation come to a point where we're more comfortable checking niggas when they are like just blatantly creating unsafe spaces.
Yes, the blatant,
spaces.
the blatant is
you know,
is
and
out of order.
I think that we have to start on the extreme end, because if we can check that, then we can check the more subtle stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then we can start having deeper conversations within ourselves about how we even are contributing to certain things, even though we don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we're men and we've been socially engineered in a way that our very existence, in a lot of ways, is an unsafe space for women, right?
Yeah.
And how we move in society. And that doesn't mean that we intentionally do it, but as men, we have to take some ownership that like that's just the reality right now.
Yeah. And it's to the point. It's to the point where they are in this the conversation. Just a few months ago, just on everything, they were literally choosing a wild animal in the forest over being in the same space with a stranger.
Yeah, and everybody, joked about it. Everybody, I saw men weaponize it.
Yeah.
And I think you totally missed the point. And like, honestly, I feel like I'm starting to realize that a lot of this shit is just guilt ridden at this point. I think somewhere deep down we know, right? Whether it's conscious or unconscious, I think deep down we know that when we like, I may feel one way about myself as an individual, but collectively, I think when we start to think about it as a collective, I think what we don't want to say out loud, but that you can't possibly have a heart and not realize this when you're thinking about us as a collective group, that we have really let our counterparts down.
Yeah,
we have really under delivered while over promising. And then it was like we got mad when we under delivered, and we tried to, we started creating all of these different reasons why the under deliverance is okay.
Yeah.
And until we start having those deep conversations in our own spaces, right? Like our safe spaces, right? So and I've slowly been transitioning into that guy, like, in the barbershop, on the basketball court.
Yeah.
When the fellas just getting together to do what we do.
Yeah, it's one thing to have like that.
I find myself consistently being the voice of opposition. But then at some point that transitions, I think, from out of just our spaces into the general space. And I think the natural progression is that there starts to be like more open challenges to those behaviors that we know aren't conducive to safe spaces for women.
Yeah.
In relationship, I would just you want to create a safe space for a woman, just stop playing games. Just stop playing games. It's like, if you don't want to be in a committed relationship, be honest, and then don't act like you want to be in a committed relationship.
Don't give it up.
Because, set clear expectations. Because honestly, I really do feel like a lot of issues in relationships is with people who, we're socially conditioned to be in relationships. And I think that deep down, everyone wants companionship. But if you're not ready to do the work, then just don't do it.
Yeah.
There are guys out there who are actively dating, and I'm thinking about a couple specific people that are like I follow or that I'm friends with on social media. And one of the common themes I notice amongst these guys, because they talk a lot about their dating lives, in the deliverance of their online persona. And like, there's very little lying, there's very little manipulation tactics. Like, the common thread is like, I am honest with myself and I'm honest with the people that I interact with. and I'm setting realistic expectations in those, and I'm a serial dater, right? Like I don't, I date around, and you know what I'm saying, like, just do that. There's nothing wrong with that. I think where men mess up is when they tie themselves into relationships when they really don't want to be in one.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like you can't want to be in a relationship and want to hang out with the fellas Thursday through Sunday. Like those two things are just not conducive.
Right. It doesn't work.
You know what I'm saying? Like you can't be. Yeah. It's just your desire has to match your intention, and if it doesn't, you're not in the right place. And just bow out gracefully and honestly.
Yeah, I mean, give somebody else a chance to win the heart of this woman that that you're playing games with, like you said. Like, the thing is, we've lived in this atmosphere, in this space of, well, I gotta do what I gotta do in order to get what I need to get.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And that includes lying, that includes gaslighting, that includes getting hopes up, that includes giving up my body, you know what I'm saying? That includes all of these things, and when we're done, once we've gotten what we've gotten, it's just like, well, I'm good. Have a great one, and we fail to realize the emotional after effects that we leave behind that in the wake. You know what I'm saying? We're just a speedboat on go, right? Yeah. We're not accounting for the waves that it's going to create. We're not aware. Even if we are aware, we're not even caring. That is a problem,
and it's hard. And that's a topic. And I feel like that could be a whole topic, like the next time the fellas get together.
For sure.
Because that one of the things that I am always aware of is that like that shadow work that goes into change, like real core change. Oh boy, that's an uncomfortable, humbling ass place. And I'm convinced that because we don't talk about that much as men, that's what's causing a lot of men to back out. Like I think more men, I did not know. None of my married brothers prepared me for what was going to happen when I got married, and and when I say that, not prepare me, but none of them hit me to how you feel, right? Like the truth is, newly married men are just as giddy as we typically assign to women. Like,
oh, for sure.
Nigga, I be walking around and nobody told me that. Nobody told me that. Like, now that I got 100 niggas in my group that's married, and nobody told me yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, and not just the general happiness. I think we all know that exists. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I skip around.
Yeah, but the flex part,
right? It's like I'm flexing.
Like, you can't say nothing to me. And, I got mine. Like,
yeah, like the funny thing is, like, I think it's on us as men to create our own safe spaces where we can have those conversations. Because I really want to talk about. I desire to have conversations with men about the change. Right, and like how that affects you, because I realized that I'm still shocked that I made it through the transition, and so so I recognize how hard it is for men. You know what I'm saying? To the point that I know that's why a lot when I see the 40 and 50-year-old dudes that's still doing shit we was doing in our 20s, right? Wow. Ladies, y'all know about them, man. I know how they got there. Because they tried to do the shadow inner work and they ain't make it. They probably ain't make it because they ain't had no support system. Because one of the things that we don't talk about is that when you start doing the shadow work, when you start trying to treat women better, the first people who call you out are the women that you've been dealing with. They the first ones to call you, oh nigga, you changed. Oh, you lame now. You boring now. And I almost was like, oh, okay, so you like that. You like that old me. Oh, okay. I'm gonna give y'all what y'all asking for. But I knew that there was something intricately not quite right about that. But I also was able to connect where that makes sense. And I was able to push through. But I also realized that I feel like 8 out of 10 of us, when you realize that these positive changes you trying to make produce negative results in the people closest to you, including the women that you're trying to change for, son, we need to talk about it. That shit's deep. And like, it's not that we, and to Professor Britt's question, it's not that we don't have safe spaces. We don't. Men don't have safe spaces because men have not really collectively done the work to create them for ourselves. And like, I realized that women cannot do that for us because women created. I have watched women over the past 2 decades create spaces after spaces after spaces specifically for them to connect and to do all of those things. And until we got to do the same thing. Because I know why a lot of niggas acting the way they. I feel like I know now why a lot of niggas act the way they act beyond the age that you should be acting. Because you don't know if the guy who's got himself to a better place experience what you experienced. And that was the most jarring thing. Like nothing will shock you more than trying to change and have people treat you differently in a negative way because you're trying to make a positive change. And it was the women that I was dealing with who was calling me out.
You're just.
So we gotta talk about that. But yeah, I think that
this is about to be the next episode of the Husband's Lounge podcast.
We can have a whole thing on that. But
the next
let me finish answering the other question. I think that in a relationship, creating that safe space is around active listening, intention. But if I had to leave it with anything, I would just do this: be clear about what it is that you want as a man. And then once you have determined that, just show up and do what you say you're going to do. Right? Do what you say you're going to do. And yeah, by that time, I feel like you will have cut out all of the, all the bullshit. So you shouldn't be lying to her. You shouldn't be manipulating. If you still feel like you need to cheat, you should not be in a relationship. If you still want to what they call it, if you want to sow your oats, go sow your oats. Don't try to lock somebody down if what you really want to do is be out here doing these things. It's really the irony behind all of this is that if you want to be in a committed relationship and you really want to connect with a woman, it is not that fucking hard. The hard part is finding the right one. You know what I'm saying? Just finding the one that you mesh well with. But the action, the process of creating something together that results in safe spaces and good, just a good, healthy relationship, it's really not that fucking hard.
It's not.
I really think not. I really have come to the conclusion that the reason why it seems so hard for people is because they are locking themselves into things around an expectation that they don't really want at that point in time. But because we live in a society that says you should have these things, you should do this thing, this is the right way to do it, people are succumbing to that when they're not ready. And they haven't done the work.
George,
my relationships got better after I did my self-work. Every relationship that I tried to be in before I did my self-work was just me trying to go through this motion of
service. It was lip service.
Exactly. It was lip service. You were
trying to find another way to get around the bullshit that you was already knew that you were doing. You was bullshitting you with.
That's
because it was what I was doing. It was exactly what I was doing. Listen, it wasn't until I met my wife when I mean, there was absolutely no hiding. I had next to nothing, okay? Next to nothing. And she still fucked with your boy. Why? Because I did the work and I was just like, look, this is where I'm at. I do have a plan. I do want to make sure this plan works.
Yep.
If you're willing to ride with me, ride with me. I promise to never do this. And she rode with me. And I saw the things that she had going on. She saw the things that I had going on. Like you said, George, it's not fucking hard. If you're intentional about what you want.
If that's what you want, it's not hard. Like, you know, it's you know, like, you know, it's like anything else. You know what I'm saying? It's like anything else. A lot of people hate going to work. I enjoy going to work. But for the past 8 years, I've been blessed to have a job that I really do enjoy. Like, I really enjoy the work that I do. Right? Like, genuinely enjoy it. So work's not hard. Work is challenging, and I have to put in effort, and I have to be intentional. But it's not hard. It's not hard work for me.
Yeah.
Because that's where I want to be.
Yeah.
You want to have positive relationships with women. You want to be in a space like be where you really want to be. Be where you really want to be. And if you don't really want to be in that, don't drag somebody through the motions.
Don't bother
just
nobody.
To say you are. Just to say you are.
Listen, there were times
like every time I turn around, somebody talking about how they in the streets, how they outside. If you want to be outside, be outside. It's like a whole community outside.
And you can get exactly what you're looking for outside. But don't go bothering the people who like to be inside.
Yeah, exactly. And I wouldn't even say don't go bothering. Don't act like you want to be inside if you want to be outside. Don't. If you want to be outside, there's plenty, and that's the thing about it, like none of this that I'm saying is required.
None
for you to have a relationship. What I'm saying is that if you want to be outside, there's plenty of people that you can be in a relationship who also want to be outside. It's a different type of relationship than the one I want, but hey, whatever floats your boat. But if you want to be outside, like niggas will brag about having a homebody while they out in the streets 6 days a week. Like, what the fuck is the point of having a homebody if you never home? What's the point of having a homebody for a girl if you never home?
What's
the point?
You ain't doing nothing but making her insecure, neurotic.
Hello.
What's up, my boy? How you feeling,
sure.
Man?
It is bedtime, and you are.
It is bedtime. It is everybody else.
Are you trying to wear that to sleep? You're gonna sweat through that thing. All right, go ahead.
We got a Buzz Lightyear on.
No, Master Chief.
Ah, there it is.
Yeah, that's Halo. Yeah, and it's got all the built-in muscles. I'm like, yo, he wants to sleep in it. I'm like, bro, you're gonna sweat 10 pounds off yourself in that.
I got. But listen.
But yeah, man, like if you want to be out, if you want to be outside, just be outside. If you want to be in a relationship, be intentional about it. Like, there's plenty of people outside. Like all these people out here, like it's a whole thing now. Like cheating is almost accepted in relationships. Like
that's a whole nother.
Like the people just expect that that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And like I feel like that's a perfect example. Those are the people who, like, you want to be outside. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you shacked up with somebody inside. Like, just be outside. There's plenty of people outside.
But see, that's that is that deep need, that deep want. They want to be safe. They want to be in that, but they're so caught up in the flesh of all the BS that's out here. They always looking for the next best, the next baddie, the next this, the next that.
They're just not ready. Like they're really just not ready. And if you're not ready, you should just go ahead and enjoy what you are ready for. You know what I'm saying? And I think, like but when you're ready for something different, you have to match it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a big thing in spiritual concepts, right? Like, when you're ready for the next level and your spirituality, you have to start. There's changes you have to make
for sure
in order to like
get
satisfy that, right?
Yeah.
Like they say that about prayer. You pray for courage. You're not gonna wake up courageous the next morning.
What's gonna get
happen
tested.
is you're gonna get put in situations where you have the opportunity to be courageous, right? And relationships are much the same way. It's like, it's almost like you praying for courage, but then you don't want to be courageous.
Yeah.
When the time comes, right? It's like
you walk away.
There's always going to be a disconnect, and it's like you praying for courage because you saw someone else be courageous and you want that, but you're not willing to put in the work. You know what I mean? And that's what I see in a lot of relationships is that they want a relationship, but they don't want to put in the work.
Yeah.
And if it feels like work, you're probably with the wrong person.
If it feels like you're with the wrong person. And with that, we're going to just go ahead and end it because we done took up enough of your time. George, this is now the time where we give our guests and our guest hosts the space. We're going to put you in the solo layout.
Oh, I'm in the solo. Okay.
You're in the solo. This is your time to tell the world what you got going on. Where can they follow you? Where they can rock with you? Tell the people what you got going on.
So you can follow me right here. That's my what they call the Instagram Spaces. I think it's also my Twitter handle. But you guys can follow me. I ain't really got a whole lot going on. I work in youth development. I'm hiring right now. Anybody looking for a job, visit elevatebaltimore.org.
I'll send you my resume.
Let me know what's going on. Oh, for real? Like, we need to talk then. I'm out here, I'm in these streets professionally. I work in youth development. So, everything I do is on behalf of the babies. Other than that, you can catch me on Dayton University, either in the comments or you can catch me, when I'm guest professor with my boy and my girl, Professor Brittany. That's pretty much it, man. Like, my name's G. My name's George Oliver. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on that. I don't really have time for social media that much, but I do accept most friend requests. That's pretty much it, man. I ain't got a whole lot to say. Catch me on the Husband's Lounge, like in the near future, because that's where I'm trying to get to. I'm official, nigga. I'm official. I can go on the Husband's Lounge now, bro.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, you see it?
Yeah. So
yes. Well,
catch me up next in a future episode of the Husband's Lounge. Yeah, that's
for sure. Absolutely is absolutely coming. Thank you, George. Thank you for filling in on last minute notice.
Anytime, man. Well, not anytime, but this time worked out great. Like,
correct.
Absolutely.
Yo,
I enjoyed my time here.
Thank you. We really appreciate when the alumni of Dayton University come back and they just drop bombs, because you ain't drop gems, you drop bombs today, sir. So therefore, when the next man cave come out, we're gonna get that popping.
Oh yeah, we definitely need to bring the man cave back.
We need to run that back for sure. But yes, thank you.
Live studio audience, as I remember it. That was a live one.
I got something cooking, George. You might wanna rock with me. I got something cooking. So yes, like I said, man, this show is brought to you by Dayton University. Please, if you feel so inclined and if you want to continue seeing incredible content like this, please like, comment, and share. Put a like on this video right now. As far as I see, it's only 3 likes so far, but yeah, I'm that's cool. Listen.
So you guys operating like exclusively on YouTube now?
Yes, we gotta go get this YouTube money, son. Like,
okay, I got you.
Facebook,
and I feel like and Facebook not giving up the coin, and I totally understand. And I feel like I be wondering. I'm like, it's so interesting. Like, I'm starting to take a real interest in like what I see on Facebook. I'm not Facebook, but YouTube with like thousands and thousands of views versus the content and I'm like, how do you break through that? Like, how do you what is it that allows you to break through to the other side where you can just put content up and you're getting 100,000 views, 200,000 views, 500,000, and like we gonna
I'm gonna tell you all my research is confusing. Some say long form content like this. Some say short form content. Like,
right.
It don't matter. It doesn't. All it needs is the links, the clicks, and the likes. Like, that's where it is. That's the most consistent thing that I've seen in my research. And that was one of the reasons why, me and Brittany came to the decision of, like, yeah, we need to break past just doing the show for free, which it's okay. Don't get me wrong, we love doing this show, but we've been doing it for almost 8 years now. So now I really feel like it's time for us to cash in on what it is that we're doing. Now, the other part of it is because we're doing it on a positive note, it takes longer. We're not just spewing out the same men versus women BS.
And that part, yeah, man. Like, I hate it. I know that one of the quickest ways to get there is
division.
Yeah.
The
negativity always seems to just
rise to the top.
Bring them right on in.
Yeah. So I don't mind it because I see the shift well before the shift is even happening.
Oh, y'all can check me out on Fox 45 News. I was on there this morning.
What?
Come on. We're doing a book giveaway at the library on Monday from 3 to 5, the Pennsylvania branch at the corner of North and Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Yes,
Professor Britt just texted me the segment. So I'm guessing it was we filmed it this morning. It was live. It looks like it was it's on the news. I don't know if she saw it. I don't know when she sent me this. She sent me it tonight, but I feel like they might be replaying it. I don't know.
Okay.
But that's the thing. Y'all know how I feel about Fox 45. So I went there today and I was like, I'm gonna do this because it's all about the kids.
It's all about the kids.
It's all about the kids.
We're gonna let Sinclair do Sinclair. And we're gonna move on.
But it did slightly change my perspective a little bit. I ain't even gonna lie, because the people there are really nice, and I realized today I was like, damn, these people are just doing their job.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they really just doing their job, and it made me realize it's like, oh, they're not creating the news, they're not deciding, what to report. They're literally doing their job. It's like being an actor. As an actor, I can't be coming in like, oh, we need to change the script. We need to change this. We need to. This is the director's vision. It's the writer's script. I just come in and I do what I'm supposed to do. And I realized today, I was like, oh, they really just doing their job. Like, this is a higher,
way above their pay grade. Yeah. But thank you, one and all. Thank you for tuning in to Dayton University. We will be back right here on YouTube 2 weeks from now. We love y'all. Thank y'all so much. Please, 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 if you feel so inclined, we got brand new stuff that's on the site. Our links are everywhere on our socials. It's here in the description. Please, if you feel so inclined to, please buy a shirt, please buy a hoodie, please buy a mug. Anything that we have on the site is there for you to purchase. So yeah, we're working hard. We got some great things that we want to do. And we appreciate every eyeball. We appreciate every like. We appreciate every subscription. So yes, please click the notification bell so you're not missing any of our content here on YouTube. And also follow us on all of our socials. And with that, I'm going to get out your head. Professor George, Dean George, we thank you once again for blessing us
Thank you for
with
having
your
me.
presence here again. And tune in next time, Professor Brittany, Professor Charles, Professor George. We out.
All right, y'all.